Caffeine is a staple for many people in the morning, but coffee is not everyone's cup of tea. For those who prefer a cuppa, Birchall Tea is worth getting to know because of their commitment to sustainability and high quality tea. They have 482 solar panels on the roof of their factory in Western England, which covers more than half of their needs, making them carbon neutral. They also make their tea bags out of plant-based materials, making them biodegradable. Plus, Birchall Tea is committed to making a great tasting cup of tea with their Great Rift breakfast blend, winning the Great Taste Awards 12 years in a row. Join me as I speak with Daniel Graham, the managing director of Birchall Tea, about what makes their tea so sustainably delicious. Daniel, thanks so much for joining the Sustainability Champions podcast. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me on the show. It's a pleasure.
Appreciate that. So the way I like to start these conversations is really kind of a big picture, take a step back, elevator pitch, just to really introduce you and Birchall Tea. So if you could start with a quick intro of who you are and what Birchall Tea is, that would be great.
So I'm Daniel Graham, the managing director of Birchall Tea. Birchall Tea really is the greatest tea on the market. If you like strong, bright, golden tea, we go to great lengths to ensure that the quality of our products are outstanding and people will enjoy them throughout the day. So it's our breakfast tea, but it's drunk throughout the day. And we have a tea factory in Wiltshire that is run on solar power. We have 500 solar panels on the roof, which produce twice the amount of energy that we actually need to run the factory. But going back to the flavor of the tea, this all starts in Africa. It's a blend. Our flagship blend is Birchall Great Rift Breakfast Blend, and it's the finest teas from across East Africa and the Great Rift Valley, teas from Rwanda and Kenya.
Sounds absolutely delicious. So, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation because probably a couple of years ago now, I switched from coffee to tea, and now, yeah, a lot of people know that tea is probably the highlight of my day, and I'm always looking forward. I have about 3, sometimes 4, if I'm feeling cheeky, cups of tea a day, and I'm always looking forward to the next one. So I'm looking
great
forward.
News. It's very good for you as well. As well as tasting good, it's good for you. So there's a lot of health benefits to drinking tea.
I'm noticing the more tea I drink, the stronger I want it because the flavor, I just can't get enough of it. So the 3 words that you use to describe it, strong, bright, and golden, sound magical to me. And this is a sustainability podcast, so I am really interested in learning about the solar panels, and also one thing that I saw on your website is your packaging as well, and that you're carbon neutral.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if we just maybe I should just go back a little bit on the tea, and we'll come to where the sustainability aspect comes in. In order for us, the first objective of the business was to produce outstanding tea that we could deliver to the world and introduce the best of East Africa. And we're in a unique position to do that because we've been in the tea industry for over 150 years. So we have a lot of heritage and expertise within the company. We also have an office in Kenya, in Mombasa. The reason the office is located in Mombasa is because Mombasa is the center of the tea trade in East Africa, and East Africa is the largest tea exporting region in the world. So, and our business in East Africa exports over 50 million kilos of tea worldwide every year. So we're located at origin in the largest tea exporting region in the world. So we taste in excess of 5,000 different teas every week. And out of those, only a handful will be good enough to go into our Great Rift breakfast blend. And this is the one that's won 12 Great Taste Awards in a row, more than any other breakfast tea on the market. So that's why we're very confident when we say people who like bright, strong, golden tea will enjoy this product. But
I'm
even if you don't like the tea so strong, if you brew it for maybe 15-20 seconds, put a slice of lemon in it, you'll get the flavor and the brightness without the strength. So it's good for people that like a lighter cup as well. You just got to make it a bit quicker.
That makes sense. And I'm starting to salivate a little bit as we're talking about this. I can't wait to learn more. The 50 million kilograms, I mean, that's in my mind, and I mean, I'm struggling to wrap my head around that. Is that all under the Birchall Tea brand?
No, so that's our bulk tea business that exports to 30 different countries and goes in many different brands.
Oh, I
So
see. Okay.
that gives us access to tea at origin and
Mm.
the selection. We can pick and choose the teas we want for our particular blends.
Wow.
So it's a
Okay.
great position. It's a unique position to be in.
Yeah, absolutely. And and then I thought I heard you say that you taste 5,000 teas a week.
Yeah, approximately 5,000 different teas are produced across East Africa on a weekly basis. And we have a team of tea tasters in Mombasa that will taste every single one of those. They'll rate them. They'll decide which ones we want to buy. And so that when they go to the auctions on a Tuesday, they already have an idea of which teas they're going to purchase for the blends we want to produce. So there's no shortcut to that. You've got to taste them all, otherwise you really don't know what you're going to buy on the Tuesday. And that's
Yeah,
a dedicated. Well, that's a full-time job.
I imagine so. I mean, 5,000 teas a week. I imagine that there's more than one person doing that. That's
There is, yeah. There's a team of people. Yeah.
it's a lot. But I'm starting to get an idea or a flavor to stay with the theme of the conversation about what yeah, how you won those 12 taste awards. I mean, this is a very impressive process that you have. And
Thank you.
if we go, so that's the origin. You've mentioned that there's 500 solar panels in Wiltshire, if I heard that
That's
correctly.
right. Yeah. So
Um,
we ship it once we've selected the bulk teas, we'll ship those to the UK to our factory, which it's a state of the art factory. We built it from scratch. It's purpose built. We built it in 2018, and so we had a blank sheet of paper. We wanted to do everything in an environmentally friendly way, as friendly a way as we could.
mhm.
And this was a great opportunity to start from scratch. And we thought, well, wouldn't it be fantastic if we could power the whole thing with solar? And turns out that it was very possible to do it. I think there's 482 solar panels on the roof.
Wow.
Even in England, where the sun doesn't always shine that much, it's sufficient to produce twice the amount of power that we actually need to run the whole factory. And the excess we just sell back into the grid. So we also have some air source heat pumps connected to that solar panels, which just basically stretches the energy that little bit further.
Mhm.
And there's no gas connected to the building; it's not needed. So it really is. It's the only factory run on solar power that I know of it's tea factory anyway that I know of in the UK.
So the whole
And
it's run 100% on solar.
100%, yeah,
Wow,
yeah, yeah.
that is
Um,
impressive.
and we're selling 45% of the power produced back to the grid. So we
Wow.
don't even use it. We're not even using all of it.
That's great that you're yeah, making some extra money that way as well.
Yeah.
Um and and is it correct? I remember seeing on your website that the tea bags as well are plant-based.
Yeah. So we really wanted to look at the whole thing and see where we can improve the way we do things in terms of producing great tea in a way that's conscientious about the environment. And one thing that's always been has always been the case is that the actual tea bag paper itself has always had plastic in it.
Mhm.
And this plastic was needed to when you run the tea bags through the tea bag machines, they're heat sealed, and the plastic melts and seals the tea inside the tea bag. So it was a part of the material that was needed, but obviously it doesn't biodegrade. It's not good for the environment, and it took quite a long time for the tea bag paper companies to develop a sustainable tea bag paper that has no plastic in it. And it's a plant, so there's a plant. It's actually a bioplastic, so technically it's still a plastic, but the point is it's plant based, and critically it biodegrades. So all our tea bag paper now is biodegradable. We call it plastic free or plant based paper. It doesn't seal quite as well. Occasionally, we, particularly in the early days, there were problems with the tea bags not sealing. But we noticed that our clients were, although irritated, very sympathetic to the fact that we're trying to get rid of plastic, and that really was higher on their agenda of concerns than the odd broken tea bag. But I'm happy to say those problems are behind us now, and you not only do you get a plastic free tea bag, it stays intact as well.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear it. And as we were talking about earlier, I mean, I suppose that's one more reason to go down the loose leaf tea route. Well, at least at the beginning. Now that
Even better, yeah. If yeah, loose leaf of course has less packaging by the very nature of the product. So
actually,
that's the ultimate.
Yeah, and on that point, and this is just a question that I'm very curious about. I've always heard that loose leaf tea is higher quality than what comes in a tea bag, because at least with the big name brands, and we don't need to name them specifically, but I'm sure people know. I've heard that what goes into the bag is sort of the remains of what happens from the loose leaf tea production. So loose leaf tea, you get nice long strands, and it's a very lovely part of the leaf. And what goes into the bag is basically the quote unquote dust that they sweep into the bag from the production floor.
It can be, but it doesn't have to be.
Okay.
So you can put great quality tea into a tea bag, and it will taste just as good as a loose leaf brew. I know we talked earlier about how you enjoy making tea and the actual process of making loose leaf tea, which is very it's a nice relaxing thing to do if you have the time. But in terms of actual quality and taste, if you've got fantastic tea, whether you brew it loose in a teapot or in a tea bag, you'll get the same. You'll get the same end result. Historically, tea bags got a very bad reputation because people did hide low quality tea, dust as you put it, in the tea bags, and so people blamed the tea bag for causing the poor quality tea, when in actual fact they weren't putting the same thing in the tea bag that they were putting in their loose leaf packets, because they felt no one can see the tea because it's wrapped in this paper. And they'd get away with it, but we don't do that at Birchall Tea. You get the best quality loose or in the tea bag. So whether you want the convenience or the relaxing process or of making the tea loose, you get the best of both worlds.
Well, that's really, really good to hear, and I'm glad that's the case. Sometimes very rarely now I find myself doing tea bags. Actually, sometimes have to, if I'm in a rush, I plan my entire sort of rushed morning schedule around making loose leaf tea. It's sort of, I run around the kitchen, put the hot water in, get things ready as the tea is brewing, and it's important enough for me now.
Well, the ceremony is very important in some cultures, particularly
Exactly.
China, for example. The Chinese take a long time to make the tea. It's all very much part of the day. Whereas we're looking to grab something, get on the train, or get off to work.
Exactly. Yeah, it's kind of a shame that we lose the magic of it, but I suppose it's different cultures, different points of view, and that's okay. And Daniel, you said in 2018 you decided to start with a clean sheet of paper when you built this the new factory in Wiltshire. So I'm just curious to know, where did that decision come from? How did you come to that point of view? Where was it an internal conversation? Was it something that you were seeing in the market that needed to be done? Uh, yeah.
We had a small factory in London, and our head office is still in London. But with the company was growing, we were running out of room in our London-based factory, and we had to find a new factory. So we London's not a great place for a factory for the cost, the logistics, the traffic's not great. So the decision was taken to find something within approximately 2 hours of London, because that's where our head office is. We found a patch of land down in Solstice Park near Stonehenge, which is quite a famous historic site here in the UK. And it was just the perfect size, and we rather than buying an old factory and trying to fit into it, we thought let's go down find the land route, get an architect to design exactly what we want. We can tell them the kind of size we need, what we're going to be doing, producing tea, and the solar panels then became an option. It's also left us with a brand new building, obviously, and obviously food safety, health and safety, cleanliness is very important. So to start with a brand new building was a real help. We also have a BRC certification, and we passed that. We've had it for 2 years now. Both times we've got the top grade AA star.
And what's BRC? Sorry to interrupt. What's BRC?
It's British Retail Consortium, but effectively it's an audit of your factory to make sure that you're producing your products in a clean and safe manner. And it's a very stringent test. The auditors will come unannounced sometimes. So it really is very difficult to get this accreditation, but we're very proud to have got it now and achieved the top grade. But I think part of that was the fact that we had such a brand new building that we're able to, it helps a lot.
Yeah, and so as you were designing the new building, you also wanted to go for something that is, and this BRC, does that have anything to do with the solar panels, or is that just?
Not really. No. That's it's more about food safety, and
gotcha.
So when we designed the building, we had this. We knew that we wanted to achieve this accreditation. It's one of the most respected ones in accreditations in the food industry. So we were able to design the layout according to the type of stipulations that certification would require us to have. So gotcha. it was good all round, and also gave us the chance to do the environmental sustainability things such as the solar power and the air source heat pumps.
And I'm curious to know, I mean, because solar panels aren't always the cheapest solution. So I'm curious to know why the decision to double.
Yeah, well, it was really we wanted to do it. We wanted to be sustainable, but it's actually, and there is a big upfront investment, but these panels will have a life of about 20 years. So if you look in the long term, it certainly pays for itself. And of course, it's the right thing. It's the right thing to do also. And with the recent increase in energy costs in the UK, the return on investment is coming back quicker than 20 years now.
Yeah, I imagine so. Yeah, that decision 5 years ago was probably feels pretty good right now.
It does, yeah.
And I think it's great as well, because it, with you're reducing the amount of, you're doing two things. Number one, you're reducing the amount of demand required of fossil fuel based energy, which is always helpful. And by doing that, you're dictating how other companies are starting to create energy, and simultaneously, because you have basically double the amount of panels that you need, you're actually feeding the grid and hopefully providing more power and easing the demand as well for
Yeah,
electricity.
and I hope other companies will look at it and think, well, we should do that too, because it's not difficult. And most factory roofs are flat. They're usually quite large. They're usually not in the middle of a forest where there's lots of trees that could get in the way of the sun reaching the panels. So some people feel that solar panels don't look particularly nice, but on an industrial estate, that aspect doesn't matter too much. I personally think they look quite good, but yeah. So I think it really is something other companies should really look into doing, and it'll save them money as well in the long term.
Yeah. Are all of your solar panels just on your roof?
Yep, just on the roof,
Wow.
and we've
Okay.
only covered half the roof. So if in time to come, we could double again what we've already got.
Yeah. I mean, so to your point, it really does. I mean, 482 panels is a large number of panels, but it's actually, it sounds like you can easily cover your factory's requirements
Yeah.
for energy just with solar, and then some in the
Hmm.
UK. I mean, as you said, there's just
Yeah.
a lot of hurdles, and the UK is not particularly known for its hot,
No.
sunny, bright, nonstop shine when it comes to the
No.
sun.
Yeah. And actually, that's a good point, because these panels don't really need bright sunshine light. They will still generate. The brighter it is, of course, the more power they generate. But they don't do they will still generate power even in a sort of a reasonably bright day. So yeah, if it works in the UK, it should work pretty much anywhere.
Exactly, yeah, and I think it's actually a very inspiring message. It makes me really think that pretty much any factory could do this. Certainly in the UK, but really anywhere in the world. It's a to your point, it's a very simple solution. Factories are typically it's just a big box of a building, so
Correct.
there's really no reason not to, and especially in the UK with the energy pricing situation, there's a lot of motivation, I would imagine, to find ways to reduce cost.
Absolutely. And I know that I know that there are some tea factories in the hills up in the highlands of Africa that are now looking towards getting some, because the tea factories at the plantations also have huge reefs. And of course, Africa has a lot of sun. And I know that there's people, some companies are starting to look into solar panel. I think maybe some have put some solar panels on their roofs, because
Mm,
it's, again, the barrier to entry on that is the initial upfront capital investment, but long term, that'll be the right call
yeah,
for them to make, and I'm sure some of them are making those decisions now.
that sounds good. And I think that really makes sense if you are constantly getting sunburned and you think, well, this is a good place for a
Yeah,
solar panel.
and for the tea industry, climate change is so important.
Right.
Tea needs several factors to grow. It needs sunlight, it needs rain, and it needs cool temperatures. So
Mm,
some of these sun and cold temperatures don't sound like they should go together. So there's only a few areas in the world where tea can grow perfectly, and one of them are the African highlands, because you have the heat of the African sun, but you have the height, the elevation, which means the temperature is actually quite cool, and there's a lot of rainfall. And why do we want it cool? Because we want the tea plant to grow slowly. The slower it grows, the more time it has to take nutrients out of the soil that goes into the leaves that we then pluck and manufacture. And the more nutrients in the leaf, the better flavors you can get from the tea. So for the tea industry, climate change is we need is a big concern. If temperatures uh, increase, this could have a very negative effect on what happens up in the tea plantations. If there's flooding, of course, there's also, climate is very important to tea production.
Is on that point, and I appreciate you saying that, is there something that you and the team are doing as far as planning for in case climate change goes completely out of control and changes how tea starts growing? I
Well,
mean,
we're trying to do our bit to reduce our carbon footprint and hope that everyone else does the same. So our products are all carbon neutral. So we measure our carbon footprint from the scopes 1, 2, and 3. So that's tea delivery into our factory, the carbon footprint we produce whilst making the products, and the carbon footprint we produce when sending out the products to our customers.
mm-hmm.
So that's all covered, and we offset that through carbon credits. That's where we're at the moment, and obviously the aim is to get to net zero eventually, but how we do that is we have to look for new ways. I mean, the solar panels were the obvious one for us when we built the factory. Transportation is a big carbon footprint, so if we can bring that down or find more electric vehicles to deliver the products, that kind of thing in the future, that all these sort of things will help eventually.
So yeah,
But it has to be done quicker, or it has to be done sooner rather than later.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think the industries like tea that are really reliant on a reliable and consistent climate, meaning like the wine industry as well as another one where there are certain wineries that rely on fog coming in every morning, and as the climate starts to change, that fog becomes unpredictable. Or, to your point with tea, you have to have those cooler temperatures, or else the plants start to grow too quickly. And if that becomes unpredictable or unreliable, it completely changes how your production works. And
yeah, absolutely. And if you get a drought, then you don't get any. Then the tea doesn't grow at all.
right.
So then you get so there's a lot of. It's very fragile. It is fragile. So
yeah. And I
I think.
imagine. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, so climate change is something that the tea industry has to watch very closely.
And I would imagine that, it's a big concern to think that, the climate could completely could shift to the point where things stop working. And, from the point of view of making a high quality product that is what you're committed to, and that can become, it's sort of hanging on a thread to some degree, I suppose, because I'm not trying to be doom and gloom here, but it's just, I would imagine you're really motivated to take action, and it's clear in what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've got to, yeah, absolutely. We are motivated. There's no more bigger motivation than that.
What was the moment you realized that working in the tea industry was what you wanted to do?
Because my family's been in tea for so long, I think it was always going to be a possibility. But when I really realized I wanted to do this was when we got that first blend together. And there were a couple of occasions when I'd drink it and think, this is so good, we need to get this out there. And I don't think I could be in the cheap and cheerful end of the tea industry. I just wouldn't have the passion it's got to be about delivering something that's absolutely perfect. And there are always opportunities to make some shortcuts. Oh, we could buy this batch. It's not quite as good, but I don't think anyone will notice. And we never go down that road. It's got to hit the blend standard. And if it costs a little bit more, fine. We sell 80 tea bags, 80 drinks, 80 tea bags for £5. It's considered expensive, but if I walked into a pub and said, I'll buy everyone, all 80 of you, a pint, and it's cost me £5, I don't think anyone would think I was spending too much money. But and when you think about the effort that goes into producing a cup of tea, it really is a very cheap drink. So we can all afford to buy the best and enjoy that little luxury at home. You have to pick approximately 5 kilos of green leaf to make 1 kilo of black leaf tea that we can then use to make our tea.
Oh, wow.
So somebody has to hand pick this and then it has to be processed. Has to get transported down from remote. Most tea plantations are in very remote areas, so logistics are very difficult. Then it has to be blended by someone, shipped across the ocean to whichever country is consuming it, and then put into it. So a huge amount of work goes into doing that, and
someone has to taste 5,000 teas a week along the way as
someone's got
well.
to taste 5,000 teas a week, make sure it actually fits the bill. So yeah, it's worth it. It's worth it. There's always it's a really interesting industry. It's a nice industry to be in.
Absolutely. And I think to your point, 5 pounds, I mean, I do see sometimes these big name tea companies, they have huge boxes or bags, I mean, that are half the size of a human, and they cost like 10 pounds, but I think 5 pounds for 80 tea bags seems very reasonable to me, considering
I
the
think so.
quality. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're getting a lovely drink at the end of it, why save £2 and have a lousy drink?
Yeah, 100%. Not to mention, if you compare it to coffee, it's substantially less expensive.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And much better for the environment. And so, what's next for Birchall Tea? I mean, we've been talking a little bit about climate change and how that is something that you're working on, and you mentioned that you're looking at net zero potentially. But is there anything next that you're working on that's exciting that you'd like to share?
Well, I mean, we're always. I mean, things like the cartons we use are FSC certified, which means that's from forestry that's managed, and we're not going to cut down any trees that aren't planted to make these boxes. So all of that kind of thing's already been doing. The overwrap of our cartons, it looks like plastic, but it's actually a Nature Flex product, which is plant-based, again biodegradable.
Mm-hmm.
But there are still, I would say 90% of our products are now plastic. 90% of our packaging is plastic free, but
Right.
there's still that 10% that we need to find an alternative solution where
Mm-hmm.
we've been looking, we keep looking, and new things will come along, and eventually I'm sure we'll be able to get absolutely everything out of the system. What's next? We want to get our tea out there more. We want more people to drink it and enjoy it. Keep doing what we're doing, trying to get our carbon footprint down as much as possible. I think the area of transportation is the obvious one. When we measure our footprint, as I mentioned earlier, that's the one that really flags up.
Yeah.
And I'm sure with the EV market rolling out, that solution might be coming.
Yeah, the transportation one is always the trickiest one, and but I think you're right there. It's a process, and progress is being made. And now, what I would consider the most important question: where can I buy Birchall Tea?
So you can buy it on our website, birchalltea.com
Mm-hmm.
or .co.uk. It's also available at Ocado,
Okay.
Amazon,
Mm-hmm.
and we'd really like people to try our tea. So we would like to offer a discount code to anyone
Lovely.
listening, and it'll be the code is can be used on our website. The code is SC for Sustainability Champions. SC25, that'll give anyone a 25% discount on the products, and I
Amazing.
really want to hear their feedback. I hope they enjoy it. Our reviews are pretty good. I think 4.9 out of 5 stars, so we're
Amazing.
pretty happy with that.
And do you ship if we go onto your website and use that discount code, do you ship globally or just within the UK?
It's mainly within the UK, but we do
Okay.
have a facility to ship it globally. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Well, Daniel, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you going through this with me. It's fascinating
Yes.
to learn about your process, and I'm wishing you the best of luck as you continue to, I mean, what sounds to me like lead the way really in the tea industry for sustainability and quality.
Thank you, Daniel. It's been a pleasure.